DeFi Kingdoms, where you can summon heroes, trade with other players, quest, and fight challenging enemies in a fantasy world brought to life in pixel art animation. Command your legion, claim your legacy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's AMA with DeFi Kingdoms. We are going to kick things off. Nope, don't like any of those. We're sticking with this one. We're going to kick things off today with some updates and roll into some questions. As any of you that tuned in last week may remember, I was having some internet issues. They are better, but they're still popping up every now and then, so Winston is on standby to take over for me again as needed, but hopefully I can get through this with no problem. All right. First and foremost, Hubert, how are you doing today?
Realized I was not muted there for a bit. I'm good, thank you. How are you, Bolon?
I'm doing pretty well. Glad to be here.
Nice.
Winston, how are you doing? And who are you fighting?
Hey, Bolon. I am great. Thank you very much. I hope you're doing well. You look fine. And I am fighting Karaket, street name, Zen Attitude. So that's going to be starting real soon. I'm actually heading over there right now to do some sponsoring, and then we'll start fighting each other. So should be a good time. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Very nice. We are also looking forward to it. We're going to do a little bit of talking real quick about the things that we launched last night, and then we will roll into questions. The first one of those I'm going to talk about a little bit, and I believe Winston is going to show it for me in the background as I talk about it. But I'm going to keep drawing this out a little bit to try to give him time to do that. And there it is. Beautiful. So one of the things that we added last night was the all-new token manager menu and view. So in your account management tab, you can go to the token manager. This token manager will allow you to send any and every token within DeFi Kingdoms and outside as well to other wallet addresses. So one of the big parts of the reason that we wanted to add this was for our holiday users, our smart account users, because especially if they're playing tournaments, they're earning USDC if they're winning, and they need ways to move that around to do whatever they want with it. But even beyond that, we really just wanted an easy in-game way for everyone to manage their assets. We already had the inventory screen, which is really good for a lot of them, but we kind of got to round it out with this. So if you're needing to transfer any tokens between wallets, your own or otherwise, you can now do so here in this token manager hub. I'm really excited for it. I actually think it's really cool and a beautiful job from our very own typical T-Rex who hates attention, so I have to give it to him when I can. But with that, I am going to pass it over to Hubert to talk about everything else that we did last night.
Thanks, Bolon. Yeah, so as you guys may have noticed, we released the remaining balance changes that we had queued up. We had the priest go out a little bit earlier just because of Holy Circle was a bit too holy, so we had to tone that down, and a few other things as well. But sounds like people are generally liking the changes, so always happy to hear that. And we'll continue to be monitoring everything moving forward. It's always, things can always continue to be adjusted. Balancing is kind of a forever thing, so we'll keep going. But I'm happy to hear that it's people like the changes in general, and I think that now we can kind of just stay very focused on the next class that we have been working on. So that's nice. But I wonder, maybe one of the changes is like actually not, well, I guess we'll see. I haven't heard anything yet, so we'll see.
Yeah, thanks, Hubert. I am super stoked on these changes as well. Like, it's nice to see that we can drip out little things that impact everything in a small way, but also kind of add some balance. And really stoked that the knight is getting some love finally, getting some speed put on him. And just looking forward to figuring out how to make that cool. So thanks for always working hard on those balancing changes, Hubert. That's got to be a lot of wacky math.
It's fun. Yeah, I think the one that was like we don't change them very often, but the dynamic stat formulas, those all got adjusted. That was one where, for one thing, there was like a math error in my model, which was very infuriating to see that I had made that mistake. But it didn't really affect things that much. Just like things might have, you might see like a like 5% increase in some of your values, or like all of them, or maybe less on your dynamic stats. But besides that, like we did change block to be strength based instead of dexterity based. So now strength has a different purpose. Like before, it was used for equip requirements, and now it's used for blocking. And dexterity didn't get any new purposes, but it still has its major value comes in its accuracy component for both physical weapons and magical weapons. So I think dexterity is still probably in a good spot. But yeah, we'll keep monitoring those things. And then of course we did change speed as well. So that's probably, I don't know, maybe kind of hard to notice how different it is. It's one of those things it's kind of tough to just see it up front because it's kind of subtle, but hopefully things kind of feel a little bit more balance on that front. We'll keep monitoring that as well and see if there's need for any other changes, if agility is now in a little bit more of a balanced state compared to the other stats. But so far it seems like I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, community reception seems to be pretty good so far. It's been really fun watching people talk about the changes, and even have a couple tournaments now actually that have the changes in effect as well. I believe we also made a little tweak to patrols, or a couple tweaks actually, I think.
Oh yes, thanks for reminding me. Yeah, so yeah, we had previously made some tweaks to patrols to like make it so if your team was all level ones that you would not encounter some of the harder teams, like anything with a corrupted citizen in it, and like a triple grifter team. And this time we also added a new passive that your team will get if everyone on the team is level 1, called Beginner's Luck, that will just bring up their power level a bit, make them a bit more sustainable, and should make it. I know the level 1 versus the tier 1 patrols fight was kind of challenging, so hopefully this will kind of alleviate that. And it's just kind of from a balancing perspective, like because the system, like the way the dynamic stats work and the way everything works, like when you go from 1 to 2, that's a doubling of everything. Like it is a much bigger step than when you go from like 15 to 16. Like things even out very quickly, and so like if we had balanced everything to be at level 1, it would have made those fights so easy for like even level 3s. So opted to like balance around level 2 more, and so rather than just kind of make tier 1 just a complete absolute walk in the park, we're just going to bring up the level 1 heroes to kind of be closer to a level 2 experience. So hopefully that kind of solves that. It's just kind of a little bit of a tricky problem with just kind of the nature of the system.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. With that, let's roll into some questions. This week is almost exclusively Hubert. Great job, everybody. Make sure you keep submitting those questions for Hubert specifically. Love to see it. But with that, we will get into the first one. Are there any channel attacks that follow the hero rather than hero position? And what happens with channeling and dead heroes?
Yeah, so as of right now, I don't think there are any channel abilities that target a position and not a target. So once it's like locked on to that target, it's going to, that it's going to follow that target if they move. Like there are a few cases, or maybe it's just one case, I think, with Twin Arrows, where that one has a second target, which is the person behind the main target. So if that main target moves to the back, then it kind of will just miss the back. So like it doesn't set the second target at the beginning. It sets it at the end when it's released. So that's one case where like it is positional, but it's because it's the secondary target. The main target will still be followed around. In the future, we may add channeling abilities or any ability that specifically targets a position instead. Which, if we do that, it will, I guess it would function a little bit differently. But and I did say doo-doo just now. Haha.
Doo-doo.
I saw you on mute. And the second question, if like what happens to the channel if the target dies, it just fizzles is what happens. Since right now it focuses on that target. If they're not there, then it's done. Kind of if anyone who's played Final Fantasy 1 on the Nintendo Entertainment System will know that's OG stuff right there.
Nice. Love it. In patrols, and now, as of last night, outside of patrols also, a hero can have the debuff Rooted applied to them. Should the hero still be allowed to perform attacks where the hero leaves their position in the animation and goes back to their original position, such as Whirlwind?
That is an interesting question. Thematically, I get where you're coming from with that. It would be a bit annoying to put that into the combat system, especially like where do you draw the line with that sort of thing? Because we could have just had whirlwinds they spin in place and nothing happened, and then okay, because of the animation we chose to do it this way, we're not going to do it. We're not going to have it impact it. And the other, it just, I think that might be overly complicated, I guess, is my main thing. Like we do say, with if you're rooted, you can't do any ability that would reposition you, which in this case, we don't have any classes yet that do that. But in the future, when Legionnaire and Monk are out, those classes are capable of doing that. So root would impact those classes. But generally, the root status effect was intended to be something that was a nerf on repositioning. Nerf is not the right word, but it impacts repositioning. Attacks that have an animation that doesn't actually reposition them, but they do move. I don't think we're going to go so far as to be picky like that.
Nice. Similarly, actually, can we explain how, from a lore perspective, the debuff of blindness is equally effective on a seer as compared to other classes? Have we considered giving them a like limited duration or reduced percentage, something similar to clear vision?
Yeah, good question. I don't think we're going to do anything about that. The seer is neat. I guess we could give him like blind resistance on their passives or something if we wanted to. I don't know that we need to, but yeah, good point. Thematically, it seems like maybe they should because they don't use their eyes. But does blinding necessarily need to always be about their eyes, or is it about like impacting their perception, whatever that may be? So, with blinding winds, yes, getting in their eyes, but
philosophical questions, though.
Yeah.
Maybe their blinding winds is a ethereal wind.
Yeah, you can get very literal with things, and we can go that far, but I don't know that it's worth the energy to do so.
It would definitely make things that much more complicated. Like when you start blending game logic and real world logic too far, it gets quite interesting. Uh, have we considered creating a lesser chest or few lesser chests to be given to Patroller Limited and Daily Skirmish Consolation winners? These could obviously have different items than the current chests, gore weapons, potentially Squire, whatever the case may be.
I mean, yeah, we've considered a lot of things that we could do with chests. You know, I think we could certainly make more of them than we have right now, and some that have, you know, not as great of rewards as the ones that we have right now. Definitely doable. As far as like doing that right now, I don't know that we're going to do it like in the next week or 2 or 3 or 4, but you know, we do talk about those sort of things. We are always looking to improve things. It's just a matter of, you know, is that a priority over other things? That's, you know, I say that a lot for a lot of different responses, but it's kind of the reality of it. It's, you know, us doing that does take a lot of time from me and from others, the tokenomics committee and whatnot. And, you know, we have to come up with a good design and all that stuff too. And we have a lot that we're trying to get out right now. So if we do something like that, it'll be a little bit further down the road.
Nice. Thank you, sir. All right, your first break, because you managed to sneak a couple questions off of yourself. But this next one, actually, I'm going to answer. Looks
What a
like
weird
Kaya.
thing to say. Sneak a couple questions off of yourself.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude.
I snuck those so hard.
That just pulled me right out of what I was doing. Like, what
I don't
on
know.
earth does that mean?
It made
Hey,
sense in my head when I started saying it, but you know,
sneak off, dude. Carry on.
I told people in Discord Gen Chat yesterday that I'm not even fluent in one language. Okay, I don't know what you want.
Nothing, dude. I want what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing, man. It's great.
all I wanted was a pure 100% Hubert AMA, but he just, you know, he just didn't want to do it. Made me take a couple questions. But anyway, the first question looks like Kaya has a new fancy portal with DAP and game list and a deck screener like interface, but DFK is not on there. Have we put in a request to be added? Short answer, no. Long answer, we're going to. We talk to Kaya pretty regularly, but we actually had not had this flagged up to us yet. So thank you. You guys rock on getting stuff in front of us when you see good opportunities. Please keep doing that. And yeah, we're going to be submitting the request to be added to that fancy new portal. It actually does look good. So shout out. I forgot who submitted this question, but thank you to whoever it was. All right, back to Hubert. Would appreciate the team discussing whether it's sensible for higher level tournaments, particularly really like anything above weekly, but especially monthly and above, to move away from level 10 and only have the 15 to 20 format.
Well, I guess right now we don't actually have 15 in any of those anyway. But and I don't know that we would, considering the amount of turnout we've seen on the 15s. I think, you know, I want to make sure that these, especially the big tournaments, are getting filled. So I guess, yeah, on the 15 question part of that, I think probably not. Now, as far as like, if we were to do a discount 15, then be just only 20s versus 20s and 10. You know, level 10 is a different experience than level 20 for sure. But you know, I guess it's kind of like, I credit Winston for this this analogy, but like you know, you have like heavyweight and featherweight in like boxing. I think it's kind of the same kind of thing, where having a variety there, where you know, you maybe you can be the champion in 20s, but you can't in the 10s. Like, I think that's maybe okay. We have more, like the All-Star tournament is going to be a level 20 tournament, but you know, the ones that we have more than one of, like we have level 20 versions, we have level 10 versions. I think, you know, I think that's a good thing personally. So I don't think we're going to change that.
Nice. Yeah, I think we've seen some really good mixing up by having some different levels, which is fun. Um, the Okay, how do I phrase this question? So, the quote unquote intended issue with the heavily reduced shot clock time in certain scenarios seems to be stemming from resolving channels. Uh, Resolving effects don't take as much time as the channels. So the question is this really intended? And if not, can it be fixed by having resolving channels count as a real turn? So essentially everything above the time bar is a turn, which resets the shot clock, and anything below is not resetting it.
Yeah, so the issue with the shot clock and I guess the combat engine in general right now is and I say right now, some of this can't be changed without like a complete and utter overhaul of the entire system to be something that's more expensive for us to manage. But the combat engine itself is a state machine. It will be in the state until it gets an input from external sources, and then it will like do everything on its side that it's supposed to do, and then it waits for the next input. So like right now and as far as like the shot clock time goes, it just uses the last time it was updated as its shot clock, like as the timestamp that it uses. So like anything that's a channeled ability, like an out of control ability, like a berserker being berserk, like those things are not a turn that there's an external input for. It all just happens internally, all like kind of instantaneously when it's all calculated. So like right now that there's nothing that can track that time, because as far as the state machine is concerned, that already all happened, and it's just waiting for whoever the next player is to make their next move, and it's just looking at like how much time has passed since it did its last batch of calculations. So that does create that situation where if a lot of different things happen, a lot of like status effects expiring, channeled abilities, berserk, um, poison going off, bleed, whatever. Like all those things take time and like to animate, and that time is counted against whoever is next. That's not ideal. I wouldn't say it's intentional. It's just a kind of fact of how the system is designed right now. We do know what the solution is to like make it so it's more fair, so that everyone does get close to the 30 seconds like from the start of their turn. But it's a really big overhaul where we need to essentially every single thing that has any sort of interaction on the like in the combat engine. Like watching this now, stun just happened. Anything where there's an animation, or something pops up, something is processed and shown on the screen. Like we would need to add like a time count for every single thing. We need to like measure out the time of each animation. And add that in, and then have like a tally that runs in the background, and adds to the shot clock so that you can get that time not counted against you. So that is the solution. If we when we have time to do that, it'll fix it. But it is a big amount of work, and we just is it more important to fix that, or is it more important to get the next class out? I guess is the question I will pose to you guys without asking you to actually answer. But those are the kind of questions that we have to ask ourselves every time we have these discussions. So we're aware of it. We know it's not ideal. Is it good enough for right now? Can it, does it completely ruin all of the tournaments? I don't think it does. I know it's annoying. If you're aware that it's going to happen and you see a bunch of things happening, I guess hopefully you're planning your next move in the process of watching what's happening. And eventually we will get it fixed, but it's going to be a while.
Nice. Feel free to answer in the chat. Have we? Oh, actually, this is your next break, Hubert. So I'm going to take this next one. Has the team thought about reevaluating the rewards for players? Would we consider adding stones, crystals, in-game tokens, etc., as potential drops for both PvE and PvP? So yes, realistically, this is something that we are always considering in some way, shape, or form. Something that we're actively considering as we speak. It's always kind of top of mind. With that said, one of our biggest focuses with that is how are the rewards that are being distributed, and are there tweaks or improvements that can be made there, rather than adding more rewards, which then adds more inflation of whatever those items are. So we don't necessarily want to add more rewards to the game. We want to adjust how those rewards are available within the game in order to maximize that. Now, the exception there, well, there's a couple exceptions there. Sometimes it's just adding new rewards. That is also a thing. Also, sometimes it's creating new things that have not previously existed, such as like all of the tournament equipment. Obviously, that just didn't exist previously. So there's a few different levers to pull there, but we don't want to just say, well, now we're going to, give lesser crystals for everything, and now there's just 18 times as many lesser crystals as there previously were. So it's all about balancing out those factors as well, but it is something that we are always discussing. Cool. All right, back to you, Hubert. Will there ever be a way to pay 2 or 3 times the stamina potions to instantly go to the level that you want?
No. Yeah, I mean, no, not. I mean, stamina potions specifically. I think the hidden question behind there is like, will we ever have experience potions or experience gaining items? And that's I think a different question. And I don't know. I know there's some people that support it. I think it's something that would have to be done in the right way if we did it. And I don't know that it would be something that you could just make with ingredients that you just get passively, because that can be kind of problematic. Yeah, at least for the original question though, is stamina potions just going to instantly give you experience? No, that's not going to happen.
Nice. Is the following being considered on the roadmap? The following is an ELO system with open matchmaking for PvP, whether ranked or unranked.
Yeah, so like an ELO system in general requires a certain number of players. I think if we have been thinking about what to do with PvP. Like we do have another PvP feature that you guys are aware of, the Glory and Honor system, that may have some elements of this, but it's also just like a question of like if it worked the way private matches worked right now, or like you yourself create the match and then you're waiting for someone to do it. I don't think we could do something like that. We do need it to kind of operate on chain, and also be, we need to think about exploitability of such things if we're, we'd obviously be attaching rewards to the system. Yeah, I guess thinking about it, I think I have some ideas that might work. It all kind of breaks down if there isn't enough engagement, though. Just kind of like we see there are some tournaments that will get canceled due to just not enough engagement. Maybe the tournament settings are too restrictive, or it's at a time where people aren't available. But it kind of breaks down if there aren't people doing it. So I think we'd have that same challenge to address, like to deal. It would be there with an ELO system as well. So just something we would need to think about. But anyway, yeah, I recognize the desire for something like that. And I think we will see what we can do and what will work. If we can time it with, like for example, with YGG doing another season or something like that, or with other guilds doing some sort of thing, or any like promo where we're bringing in a lot of players. I think we could, if we had a system like that, we could probably include that as like something that is a requirement to do, and that could help with engagement. So yeah. Anyway, thinking about it, it's difficult to make it perfect. Difficult on the blockchain in particular because of all the challenges it has, but Yeah, I think we can probably work something out along those lines.
Awesome. Very nice. Let's see. I will say we are making record time, so we only have a couple more submitted questions yet. I have seen 2 questions drop in chat, but if y'all have any questions that you want to throw in chat, we will grab them, and then we may just be wrapping up early today. But in the meantime, carrying on, this is a couple of part question. Why are there so many things that can't be cleansed? Should days now be able to be cleansed to allow your combo? And is the root from Shield Smash able to be cleansed?
Yeah, so root is a cleansable thing. So yes to that last part of the question. On the days question, up until now, it has been something that was like an instantaneous effect, and that's all it did. So the days effect over the head was just kind of to indicate that it had happened. Nowadays actually does do something that is on your turn as well. So yeah, maybe we do need to look at it being cleansable. But with that said, if it were cleansable, it would probably just cleanse the combo blocking effect there, and like the initiative loss would just be what it is at that point. I don't think we would give that back. So if we were to do it, that's probably how it would be. Sometimes when we do balance changes like this, we need to like get it into the new state and then see how it is, and then if we think we need to make changes like this question, yeah, maybe we do. As far as like other things that are not cleansable, like how many other things are not cleansable? Exhaust isn't cleansable. Berserk isn't cleansable. Berserker's Mark isn't cleansable. Is that so many? I don't know if there are more. I'm not sure that there are that much more than that. But I think it's fine for us to have non-cleansable things, though. Also, things that can't be dispelled as well. So we just, yeah.
Awesome. Similarly, with the days change and interrupting combos, should push receive the same treatment, which I imagine at that point would also be pull, because it'd be weird if it was just one of them.
Right. Yeah, I don't think so. I like, again, it's something that's like an instantaneous effect, push and pull. Like you wouldn't. I guess, yeah, those aren't cleansable either. So there's another thing, but those ones are kind of unique in that they're like they happen right then and they don't affect you on your turn. Besides, maybe you want to reposition because you got pushed. So yeah, as far as that affecting combos, like I think it can still affect combo. Like if it happens to push or pull your hero into a position you don't want them to be, then they have to choose: do they want to do their combo, or do they want to like be defensive and fix the problem that was created for them? So I guess in that regard, it still kind of works that way. But just in general, like a combo is like, when you're channeling, you're focused. You need to focus. You're preparing, and then that gets destroyed when you get interrupted. Like getting pushed does that. When you're doing a combo, it's like you're setting things up. You're kind of doing the 1-2 punch. You might need to do a little weave in the middle of that 1-2 punch, or you get weaved or whatever. But it doesn't necessarily impact what you're doing next in that way. In my mind anyway. So I don't think we're going to change that.
Awesome. So there have been some questions thrown into chat, so I am going to start polling those live, and we're going to see what we get, and then we'll wrap up when there's no more questions. So this first one is for you, Hubert. Should osmotic ward, whatever. Ward, osmotic. All right, thank you. Should it be tick based or turn based?
What is it right now? Let me take a look here. It is.
I think it's turn based.
Looks like it is turn based. Yeah, I mean it's turn based right now. I guess maybe it should be tick based instead. Especially now that we kind of increased its power level. So that could be a change that maybe happens. I'll think about it.
Nice. Any update on Divine Essence?
It's coming along. I know there were a few things on the contract side that needed to be updated. So a few bugs were found. I know on the front end side, a lot of the work has been done at this point, but there's still, I think, 2 or 3 things that need to be completed before it's ready. But we're getting really close. We also do have the hosted tournament thing coming up as well, so we're getting a little bit diverted at this moment. But I think it's going to be, it's not too far off, but just might, we're balancing those 2 things right now. We're just time spent on Divine Essence and time spent on hosted tournaments.
Awesome. Let's see, this next one I'm going to kick off, although anybody's welcome to join in. What is the next approach/step to reaching new players joining and playing DFK? So, I mean, there's a lot of things that we are kind of constantly trying, and our most recent one that just wrapped up was our first season in the YGG Gap program, which went really, really well. We will be doing that again. So, in terms of like what's next, we're gonna be back for Gap better and better each time. So looking forward to that. And then we do have a couple of other things that we're taking a look at in terms of other campaigns that could drive some engagement. So we're constantly evaluating options and also the ROI on those options, and really just continuing to build out the gameplay side of things as well. Our hosted tournaments offers a really unique opportunity to involve different groups, different people, different brands directly in the game, which is really cool. So there's definitely a lot of things that we've got in the hopper that we're taking a look at currently. Uh, let's see, this next one. Any updates from Kaya blockchain? I mentioned earlier, we do stay in contact with them. They've been putting a lot of emphasis on the line relationship. So we are continuing to stay synced with them. I don't guess I have like a direct update to share to answer the question. Sorry. But we are continuing to stay synced with them, stay up to date on what they're doing, what their priorities are, and how we may be able to fit into those priorities. But nothing like concrete update today. This next one I do have thoughts on, but I'm going to pass it to you first, Hubert. Even if it's not fitting the theme in Sun, how hard would it be to bring Void Hunts to Metis and close the separation between PvP and PvE?
Well, I think if we were to do Void Hunts on Metis, it would be new hunts anyway, so there would still kind of be a separation of like different things in different places, which I mean, that's one thing. As far as like how hard it is to do, like the contracts that we use for Void Hunts is using the full hero setup that we have over on DFK Chain. So we would need to like make a new version of that contract that uses the condensed hero type that we have. There's nothing worse than getting killed by a retaliate of your own action, or I guess riposte in that case. Sorry, I was just watching that fight just now. So I mean, it would be a bit of work to do. Plus, like making a Void Hunt is a kind of involved process. It's like about as hard as like implementing a class. Well, actually, I don't know. A class is probably harder, but it's a step above at least like balancing like patrols enemies or like just doing some balancing on classes that exist, just because we do try to make sure that they are hard and are always hard, and so that takes a lot of effort. So that, I guess that'd be but that's kind of a challenge that's for every Void Hunt we do anyway. Doable. I know, Bolin, you had other thoughts, so I guess pass it over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, as far as having, that separation, I really don't think that it is necessarily bad, and it's in some ways part of our design. If you think of most RPGs, you go here to do this activity, you go there to do that activity, you go over here to do the third activity. And that's essentially, kind of our setup with realms. So, if you're doing PvP, you're in the Sundered Isles. And then if you want to go fight the boars, you travel to where the boars are. So, very similar in my mind, at least, to how RPGs are set up, where, it's usually like a continent, and then you're traveling around that continent for different content. So I was just going to add that like, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. And at least partially it is intentional. Each realm is meant to have like a unique aspect to that realm. Hubert, I don't know if that's spurred anything else. If not, no worries. But if so, feel free to add it. But otherwise, oh, go ahead.
No. I think that kind of covers it. We'll see.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, in that case, unless anybody slips a question into chat in the next like 10 seconds, we are going to go into our wrap up. But first, I wanted to hand it back over to Winston to talk about your 2 matches today with Klaytn.
Oh, I don't want to talk about it, and this press conference is over. No, that's okay. Those were we had a lot of fun, I think. Pretty balanced. I think he kind of had me outclassed. I don't know, actually. I think they had me outclassed with their heroes and their strategies, and I was trying some new stuff. I think that the knight's getting slept on a little bit, and I wanted to bring it out. And I wanted to try the new priest, like the damage priest, try to crank out some damage. But turns out it's really important to have a lot of wisdom for that to work. And my dude was like, not that wisdomous, just didn't have the wisdom that I needed to have. So I was hoping to be a little faster, and that's not super useful without the wisdom. So a couple good games. Thanks to everybody who watched, and thanks for sponsoring and voting. And I am going to get that sheet set up right now. And also, is it Klaytn? Like, oh, parakeet. I'm a fucking idiot.
It might be Klaytn. I don't actually know. It's Klaytn in my head.
I don't know. He's not going to join us. How do you say your name, dude? He's like sending me messages. What? I don't understand. It doesn't matter. He just wrote his name again like that is. Oh, I was right. Okay, perfect. He just it's just his name in text again. So I'm like, yeah. So I was right.
Which one is right?
Rarely does this happen, but
which one? What did you say? What was right?
Klaytn.
Okay, it is Klaytn. Okay.
Right? I'm like looking at his chat,
right?
For him to be like,
can you confirm?
Klaytn. Yeah, very good games. Okay, I'm right. Perfect.
All right.
Very good games and super fun. It was nice to go up against like clearly superior teams and have it not be a total, nobody was dead in the first 10 turns. Like they were longer games. We had fun. We had some fun. So I'm going to get the sheet set up for after this, and we'll do some dice rolling to see if people get stuff. So always a good time. Thanks, Bolon.
Nice. You all heard it here first. Winston is only here so he doesn't get fined. Hubert, I saw you unmute a couple times. I think it might have just been about Klaytn's name, but was there anything you wanted to add to the name debate?
It was, and I was basically just being like, if it was like parakeet that has 2 E's at the end, that was all I was going to say.
But logic and English, they're hard things. All right. Well, with that, we are going to launch into our wrap up. I will just say, as always, thank you to everybody for hopping up here today, and Winston fighting the fights, Hubert answering almost all of the questions. Thank you to everybody who has tuned in, as well as those that will watch this later and those that read the transcript. Special shout out to everybody who submits questions for us to be able to answer. Keep them coming. AMA questions channel in Discord or talk.defykingdoms.com. Make sure that you keep submitting questions so that we can keep answering them, preferably all for Hubert. But yeah, keep them coming. Really appreciate everybody. Always glad to be here. Community, you guys are amazing. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. You are why we do what we do. So thank you very much as well. With that, I will pass it over to Hubert for any final thoughts.
Yeah, thanks, Bolan. Final thoughts, man. We're doing so many things all the time. I saw some commentary yesterday about wishing that we were faster, and I wish we were faster too. But I hope you guys appreciate that. It is a lot of work that we're doing, and we're not sitting on our hands at all. Everyone's working extremely hard and trying to make sure that what we release is quality releases, and trying to avoid as much as possible any type of exploitable thing or big bugs. I think we have a bunch of different things that are getting very close. New class, the hosted tournaments, the Divine Essence. Durability is not that far off behind that, but it will be a little bit further off. Probably a few things here and there in between too. So really excited to see, how that starts to shift everything. I really want us to get to durability so that we can, have that be the new normal and kind of work within that regime of equipment being something that does wear down over time. I think it's gonna, it's really important for now, like for just for the game in general right now, just because we don't have anything that's like limiting the inflation of equipment. But I think it's just like really big game changing things are coming. So it's really exciting to me for that to be there. It kind of leads us to, the list of like big game changers that we need to get done just is getting smaller and smaller, which makes me really happy that we can kind of knock these big things out. Because once that's all done, then we're just working on content at that point. More hunts, more like patrols like content, more potentially new tournament types. But it's all just iteration on what we already have rather than working on something that's new all the time, which I think will be a little bit easier for us, allow us to do a little bit more at once. And I really look forward to get there, but we still have a lot that's still to come too. So like travel and land functionality and crafting, like those are all very big pillars of what's coming that are going to still be kind of on the horizon until we get there, kind of thing. But yeah, I hope all you guys are really are enjoying the new balance changes. Like hopefully that'll give some time for there to be kind of a new meta to be found. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the tournaments with all that in place. Looking forward to seeing how things go in the future with our tournaments, and once we start getting hosted tournaments going as well, to see what you guys come up with as far as tournaments also. So yeah, I just very excited for everything we have going, and I won't say that word yet.
Almost. I can confirm Beetle has not seen sunlight for months, and Hubert only has because we finally cut a little window in his dungeon. But Winston, any final thoughts? And if Karaket sent anything for you to share, and then give us the big word.
Wait, did you already do some final thoughts? Did I just miss it?
I did.
Oh, well, that's too bad.
My
sure
final thoughts are pretty scripted these days.
Yeah, you sound like a carnival. Some guy trying to get me to throw darts at balloons.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going for. So I'm really happy to hear that.
Absolutely nailed it. Thanks everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks again, Karaket, for fighting me. Some fun bouts. I'm not gonna. Maybe I'll put it in the chat later on, but he made a kind of AI lore. I don't know if it's AI. I'm assuming way too much. He made a cool thing, and I'll just read it to you here. It says, in the scrolls it was written, when the shards align and the gardens thrive once more, the faithful shall rise. If you're still here, you are the chosen. You are the early. You are bullish. And that was it. Sneak the bullish in there. That was the real bullish.
Bullish!
Bullish!
Bullish.
Thank you, everybody, and we will see you next week.
DeFi Kingdoms, where you can summon heroes, trade with other players, quest, and fight challenging enemies in a fantasy world brought to life in pixel art animation. Command your legion, claim your legacy.